All right, let's continue our introductory discussions about decision and branches. Um, the if statement. Now, in the previous video, I talked about random numbers, and that really wasn't a decision video, but what it does is it gives us a jumping off point of how we can make decisions based upon a random event. In other videos, we will talk about making decisions or branching off based upon different conditions. But let's take a look here. Now, let me go to my screen here and you can see like I made the final decision about what IDE I was going to use through a random number. So I'm going to use the zyBooks here. Let's create probably one of the most boring games you can possibly imagine. This game is basically I'm going to roll a die, the computer's going to roll a die, whoever wins, wins. But we're going to say there's a possibility for a tie. So, and a tie always goes to the house. So there's going to be me, there's going to be the competition, and then there's going to be the house. Now, let's start off right away by saying we know the random function we want is inside the random package. So we have to import that. Right? We're going to import that. And we're going to first say my die or my dice is going to be equal to random.randint between 1 and 6. It's going to be a 6-sided die. All right. And we'll hit enter. And we're going to say print. I'm going to cheat here. Well, I'm looking at my screen here. I've already done this code. I'm going to copy and paste just to save some time and typos. So basically, what do I have here? My dice is equal to the random number between 1 and 6. It's going to print out. You rolled a string of this my die. My dice is going to be a random integer. So I have to convert or typecast it into a string, and then I'll put a space there. All right. And then that's kind of boring, but let's see what we get. Okay, I rolled a 1. But we want to build a competition here, all right? A little bit of game, probably the most boring competition imaginable. So again, I'll do some copying and pasting from one machine to another. And here the competition dice is going to be equal to random 1 to 6, and it's going to print your competition rolled comp die. Let's run that. All right, so I rolled a 3. The competition rolled a 3, and I misspelled competition. So let's fix that. Check it again. And this stuff happens. There's a little troubleshooting here. So I rolled a 2. Competition rolled a 6. Now let's determine the winners and losers. Now to make it a little bit more readable, I often do something to make things readable. I'll put blank lines in there, print nothing, and then print winners and losers, right? So it's just kind of a dialogue. It's not necessary, but it just kind of makes me feel a little bit better. In this regard, now we're starting using the decision. Now, remember what the decision is. If it's a tie, the house wins, right? You go to Las Vegas and you're playing a game, a tie, the house wins. If my die is greater than my competition's die, I win. And then finally, if my competition's die is greater than mine or the value, they win. So again, I'll copy and paste here. And the first thing I'm going to copy is the if statement. If my die, and there's that double equal sign, is equal to comp die, and then I have the semicolon. Now, probably if there's anything you pull out of this initial decision branching video, it's this. You have to indent. Python relies upon indentation to determine what the block of code is. Other programming language you may be familiar with, Java, C#, the other program, they will often use braces, not Python. Python, you have to indent. So anything indented under that semicolon is what's going to happen if that condition is met. So Most important thing about this video, it's not the random numbers, it's not the little game. Indentation is important. The style guide for Python is 4 characters, not a tab, but 4 characters indentation. Now we'll put the results of, whoops, I'll put the results of the equal. All right, now that's too much of an indentation, so I got to go back a little bit, and that has to deal with the copy and pasting I'm doing. So if my die is equal to competition die, print out, sorry, it's a tie, the house wins. Well, we still haven't done the what if mine is greater. So here we'll say else, there's my semicolon. Again, we rely heavily upon that indentation. Indentations are crucial to Python, whether it be decisions or down the road when we talk about loops, we have to have indentations. So this one, and it's really not an else, it's more of an else. It's not an else, it's an else if. So here we're going to say else if because there's more conditions, right? So our else is if my dice is greater than comp dice, right? And there's my semicolon, and there's my indentation. I'm going to print, save some time here. I'm going to print yay, you won. Now, finally, we will have the last condition possible. This one we will use an else, right? And this one, well, again, cutting and pasting here. We have, sorry, your competition won. Now let's break this down a little bit. We have the initial decision or the initial branch that says my dice, if it's equal to, and that's what the double equal sign says, the comp dice, then sorry, the house wins. Then we have to do that else if because there's 2 more conditions that we can fall into. One condition is mine is greater than the competition dice. And then the last condition that can be met is an else. We don't have to do an else if here because we know the only other possible value here is a loss. So we have a tie, we have a win, and then the last possible would be a loss, right? So let's run this code. You rolled a 6, competition rolled a 2, winners and losers, yay, you won. Let's run it again. You rolled a 1, your competition rolled a 5. Winners and losers, sorry, your competition won. And I can sit here and it's taking a little time, and eventually I can hit a tie and it would say, oh, you both lost or the house won. Now, a lot going on in this video. We imported that random. We did only 1 dice in this. We compared my die to the competitions. That's this one down here. And then we said a tie goes to the house. That's this condition. A win goes to me. And finally, we drop through, and whatever's left would go to the to our competition. Notice the indentation, right? That's important. 4 spaces, indentation. Now, to raise the level of complexity just a little, not going to go through it, keep this video a little bit short. What if I want to use 2 dice, right? So I'm going to cheat here a little bit, and I'm going to copy and paste a 2 dice version of this game, but we'll break it down again. Now, 2 dice does not mean 2 to 12, right? 2 dice means 1 dice that's 1 through 6 and another dice that's 1 through 6. And then we can potentially combine the 2. So if we look up here in this code up here, it says my dice 1 is a random number between 1 and 6. My dice 2 is a random number between 1.6. And then we have this really fancy print statement that says you rolled a, since my dice 1 and 2 are integer numbers, I have to typecast them to string. You rolled a whatever the value is plus and a whatever the value is for a total of, and if you look here, I total them out here, right? So in the print statement, I was able to add the two integers and then typecast them. As we go through these videos, as we go through this semester, as we go through this course material, you're going to see me raise the level of complexity just slightly every time. So this is a pretty substantial print statement, right? We're concatenating things, we are typecasting, and we're even doing a little arithmetic, then typecasting. Now it's time for our competition. Competition dice 1, 1 to 6. Competition dice 2, 1 to 6. Same or pretty similar type of print statement, pretty verbose there. And then we print down winners and losers. And then we get into our formulas here. Now, our formulas or our if statements, our if conditions are a little bit different. We say if my dice plus my dice 2, so we do that math first, is equal to double equal signs or comparative equal signs, comp dice 1, comp dice 2. We're doing that arithmetic right inside that if statement. Most important thing, we got our little indentation. Little indentation says, it basically says that it's a tie. Now, I have a typo here. This isn't going to work. So what do I have to do? Well, I'm going to do a little bit of trickery here. Okay. And instead of a comparison, we'll say then a greater than, an equal. So again, if else, if the addition of my dice 1 plus my dice 2 is greater than the addition of comp dice 1, comp dice 2. I don't have to typecast because I'm doing a straight integer comparison. Say, yay, I won. And then the final condition is, sorry, your competition won, right? So very similar to what we saw, but we raised the complexity just a little bit where we said, okay, now we're doing 2 dice and we have to add those 2 dices together, but we still want to treat them as 2 separate entities. And we keep our fingers crossed and we run our program. And it says you rolled a 3 and a 1 for a total of 4. Your competition, though, rolled a 4. I misspelled competition. That's going to drive me crazy. Where are we? Your competition. Did I misspell competition? No, I put an N there. Those little things just cost me time. So let's run it again. You rolled a 4 and a 5 for a total of 9. Your competition rolled a 6 and a 6. Oh, they rolled a double. They rolled a double. That happens a lot. Winners and losers. Sorry, your competition won. Right. These past 2 videos, the first one had to deal with just random numbers. And now this one is the use of that random number or random numbers. And we use a dice. In subsequent videos, we're going to talk about conditions that aren't random. The weather. You can say the weather is random. Not really random number. Well, the weather or red light, green light, yellow light. You come to a traffic light, and if it's red, you stop, and if it's green, you go, and if it's yellow, obviously you slow down and you try to stop before it turns red. So those are non-random conditions. So this video, again, just kind of showed you the beginning of some of this fundamental principles. So that being said, hey, let's go out and learn something.